Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Let's see if we can get these two to work together.
So it starts off with this, The Robot Book by Richard Pawson. This is from my secondary school, and as I can see, my good friend Barrett Karai was one of the last people to take it out in 1988. Before I bought it, they must see me selling it off. This is the part I'm interested in here, is interfacing the Bigtrak with a computer. So as you can see, you will need a Bigtrak, a computer with a user port. It's really designed for the Commodore 64, the programs and everything. It does give you a thing for the VIC-20, but basically anything with a user port potentially could be used for this. There's all the programs, all the various steps of dismantling everything. So the first thing I need is my user port. This is a 24-pin connector for the user port for a Commodore 64. It's a 3.96mm pitch, and that should fit that nicely. The other thing is we need a Milton Bradley Bigtrak. They re-released it in 2010, and believe it or not, the one on the right is the re-release one. Looking at them, you would think that would be the old one from the 1980s. The way to tell them apart are the stickers. One's got Milton Bradley, one's got that kind of chip-looking one. Also, the original one has the top part, which comes off. Gives it got to put a 9-volt PP3 battery in it. Also, this battery connector. And as you can see, from the 1980s, it's a bit rubbish. So I'm going to use some white vinegar on this to try and clean this up a little bit. On the more modern one, the battery connector on the bottom is a screw connector. Plus, also, it'll only take 3 D-type batteries. This old one will take 4 D-type batteries. So just giving this a little clean up. It's getting some of it off, but it's been like this for a while. Chances are most of them are going to be like this. So what I decided to do was just wrap it in this and then just give it a little soak in, let it sit for a while, take some of the corrosion off, and doing the same for the one on the inside. Only trouble is now I fancy fish and chips after doing this. Just using them surface whites just because they don't really cause any problems. So as you can see, if I just use tissue, it'll all be falling apart now, whereas this stays fairly solid. So that's got rid of a lot of the corrosion. Still not looking brilliant, but they should make a contact. Just give them a little clean off. Same for inside there. It's not impossible to use the new style Bigtrak for this, but I think it will require a little bit more modification. So just putting my batteries in now to see if it will work. So that looks like it's working. First things first now is just to dismantle the Bigtrak itself. As you can see, it's fairly easy. Everything just pulls off really. Now just need to unscrew the top so I can get to the printed circuit board. So that releases the back half. And again, the other thing you'll notice on the newer ones, this one you can see is an actual screwing connection. The jack itself is kind of like almost like a headphone jack type thing, whereas on the more modern one it's more of a kind of just like it's a more flush looking unit they've used. So to get this front part off, we need to just clip these bits out here, which reveals 2 more screws. Just undo our laser cannon from the front there, which is just a little light bulb that it uses. That's it, unscrew that, and then just got to disconnect the motor cables next. So we can flip it over. That's it, so now we can get to the back of the board. So this is my first go at connecting the cables to the back of the board. It's very difficult using that book to actually see where these cables have got to go. So this is my best guess from a bad black and white photograph. It doesn't really go into a better description of it. So I know my white and my blue cable are correct. So if we have a look at the diagram, you can see the ground, which I'm going to use green and yellow combined because I've got 6-wire cable. I've got right reverse is my blue cable, left reverse is my white cable, and then I've got my red cables going to in 5 and my black cables going to in 3. Now I just need to make it off at the other end. So I'm soldering up here nicely, not realizing at this particular moment, don't follow the picture that's in the book. So that's all wired up. So now I'm just working out on the user port what is going where. Next thing to do is just put it all back together again and get our computer involved. Just make a note, these particular wheels, you can see they got a slot there, the ones that go in the middle. They're the only 2 wheels that are actually powered. The other 2 wheels are just passive and just spin. Just entering the program in from the book now on my Commodore 64. So as you can see, the first go of this, made a couple of mistakes. Need to put a colon instead of a semicolon in there. and then for some reason it's lost line 120, even though I typed it in. So the other thing I found out, which again probably back in the day that I knew, is after you type every line, be sure to hit return, otherwise it doesn't get added into the memory. So just need to add that one in now, because if it doesn't have the go to 60, it doesn't know where it needs to go to. So basically that's just going to keep looping around. So hit and run. Now I found I've got another error here. If I hit back, or yeah, the reverse on there. So I forgot to put the PRT, so I'm pressing Shift Insert Delete to make the spaces, and now I just type in what I need to type in. This just to make sure it's all correct, and run again. So now time to try it with the actual Bigtrak itself. And straight away I'm getting movement. As soon as I put power on it, it's moving.
And it wants to go forward right now, no matter what. Okay.
So at this point I thought what I best do is actually save the program. So I'm going to give it its name, Bigtrak, and just save it to cassette. And again, when saving on a new tape, you just got to make sure you get out of that red tape at the beginning. Wait till you're onto the brown tape before you actually start recording. You see 10 on the counter there. It's a very short program anyway. Just going to load it up, make sure it's all on there. There you go, found Bigtrak. List it. So that's all working. Just going to disconnect this from the back.
Do we still have? Nope.
So when I looked at my user port, I realized I've actually connected it to the wrong side. I've gone and connected it to the wrong way around. Basically, I haven't gone pins 1 to 5. I've gone the other end. So that's it now in the correct order that it should be. And again, that's just because I was copying what the book was showing. So now I know I've got it round the right way. Let's try it again.
Are you kidding me? So even with that plugged in over that side.
So still running continuously no matter what. So here I thought I'd have a look back at the... So here I thought I'd look at the schematics of the Bigtrak. I'll leave a link in the description below of where I found these. It's quite useful. And I realised that there is a motor forward left and motor forward right pin on this as well. So I've thinking about it, I just thought I will try and connect to these two instead, because surely this must be the issue, that I'm going, because it seems weird that I'd be going into the reverse left and reverse right, but then not going into the forward left and forward right. So just modifying my drawing here. So as you can see now, I'm going forward left and forward right. These two cables are staying the same, the blue and the white, and the green and the yellow stay where they are. But these other two just need to move over a couple of pins. See if that makes a difference. So just belling it out here, just making sure everything's going to the right place on the chip pins of the Bigtrak, which it is. Was getting a slight short happening on that red cable there, so I'm just going to remove it, just see if I was still getting that short. As you can see, it's kind of come apart a bit messy, so I'm no longer getting that short there between them two pins, so I'm just going to reconnect the red cable again. Yep, that's all good now. So as you can see, the wiring's not looking brilliant now, but that it should all be in the correct place. So I thought I'd try the other program that's in here, which is a subroutine, and then you put your commands in. So you can see from 1000 to 1030 as the subroutine, and then you can add your various things. So I'm selling it direction 5 T60 go sub 1000, so it means it's going to go to line 1000, run that set, and should do everything we need it to. So rather than it being controllable off the keyboard now, it's got to be just going in one direction just to see if it does anything. Again, as you can see, 1030 for some reason. Couldn't have hit return again on that one. So what I've done, because it was complaining saying it can't see the 4, I've changed that from an I to a T. Thinking about I should have just changed it from next I to from next T to next I.
Well, it moved anything, but then this wasn't on.
So again, tried it again, it's not moving. So then I went back to the book and I realised that there is a way of doing this without using the computer at all, just giving it a 5-volt signal directly into the unit itself. So I thought this will probably be the next thing I need to try to see if I can physically just get it moving with the pinouts it's given me. So I'll set up a 5-volt power supply here. I mean, really I could have just used a USB, that's 5 volts, but I've got the bench supply, so I just thought I would set this up. So for this, I've connected the ground wire to the ground, so the black is going to the ground wire. Then I'm just going to dab the 5 volts on the various inputs. Obviously this isn't connected to the computer, just to see if I can get this to actually move. If I'm giving it a 5-volt signal, is it actually triggering anything on the Bigfoot or not? As you can see, I'm getting absolutely nothing, no signs of movement or anything. So here I thought I'd just check the cable, make sure I've got everything working correctly. I'm getting my 5 volts up here to the various things if I move them over. And I do. So looking at it, it looks like it's this. If I try and run it in reverse, it will not go backwards. So it looks like this is going to need a repair. So for now, we'll leave it here to be continued.